2 hours. Here we go and wing it again.
Online and on 90.8 FM. This is the sound of Erris, your community radio station, Erris FM.
Good morning, folks. Agus Fáilte is Jack go Erris FM. Welcome along on this Friday morning of the bank holiday St. Patrick's weekend. You're all very, very welcome. It's Misha Ian McAndrew, a Crelu Bio of Valle Valen Wirral, broadcasting live to the people of Erris, both at home in your radio at 90.8 and, of course, across the World Wide Web on www.errisfm. errisfmradio.com. Thank you. James is on the buttons. That's his voice you just heard. And I'm joined in studio this morning by two beautiful teenagers from Germany who are in TY in Our Ladies. Johanna, who's from Hamburg, and Leah from Nuremberg. You're all very, very welcome, girls. They've gone very quiet all of a shot here on me. We'll talk to them a bit later on. They've just come in just as part of their TY year to observe how a radio station works. One of them lives in Clooneen for the year, going to school, and one in Cornboy. So both from Germany, but living quite a distance apart. But they've met in Our Ladies Secondary School. They were part of the musical, were ye, last night? So they're both tired after all their exertions with their great musical, which was a great success during the past week. So, guten Morgen, girls. Now, Garama got to set back to us, see that. We'll talk about Gaeilge later on, actually, because it's a very interesting piece about the Irish language in the news today. As usual, for the next 2 hours, I will take you through, hopefully, what's been happening in the world, both here in Erris, across Mayo, across Ireland, and the worldwide. We touch on everything that's in the news, what we've been listening to and reading and watching on our phones for the past week or so. And of course, it's been a very, very interesting week indeed. Our Taoiseach went to Washington with the bowl of shamrock to meet President Trump, the man who gives me about an hour every week to talk about, Donald.
And you could get more.
And he's not out of the news again this week. We'll talk about his place in Doonbeg, of course, the meeting with our Taoiseach, and Sinn Féin not going, etc. The Ryan sisters, people of an older generation remember Jerry Ryan and 2FM, and they're in the headlines today for no other reason that they're just making headlines for themselves. Dad would have been an incredible grandfather, sisters Bonnie and Lottie Ryan on life and loss, and a big piece in the Independent, which has gone more and more tabloid style every single day. Why those two deserve so much news, I don't know. We'll talk about that later on. TUSLA are in the headlines again for all the wrong reasons. This is the Child Support Agency. And there's been reports in government that they're going to abolish them altogether, but a judge has really called them to task, and that makes the headlines in today's papers. Pat McDonough. You might know Pat McDonough, but you've all been to Supermax. He's in the news about the increase in insurance. Of course, he famously, a few years ago, put cameras in the public part of the toilets, if you understand me, not in the cubicles. And they filmed people actually throwing water on the floor and then slipping and trying to sue them. So he's a scourge against false insurance claims. And he's hitting out this week that the ridiculous, he calls it, plan to increase injury awards by 16.7%. We'd all agree with that when we get a hike in our insurance premiums every year. But I suppose if we're the injured party, we won't say no to an increase neither. So we'll talk about that. On Gaeilge, as I say, a very interesting piece about a celebrity comedian who's gone back out of the love or the shame of not learning Irish or being bad at it at school or hating it at school to going back now and revisiting the language. The war in Ukraine, of course, lingers on. News this morning that Putin in Moscow has told Washington that he will look at the proposals for a ceasefire. But I don't know, our poor old Ukraine and Zelensky just being sidelined by Trump and Putin. So we'll have to see. Big picture of Putin passing one of his guards on the front of the Irish Times this morning. And the headline is Putin questions Ukraine ceasefire proposal. The music, as usual, will be local on my show. And delighted this morning that we're going to have Michael S. We're going to have his daughter Clodagh. We're going to have Malachy Gaughan later on, Quinn Neary, Michael John Ruddy, the late great Colm Henry, Chloe Winters, Chantal Padden and Tony Cawley in a duet, and Redmond Connolly, and maybe one or two more if we can fit them in as well. So if you give us a shout out wherever you're listening across the world, we'll welcome you on board, and we'll talk to our two German guests after a piece of music. They've gone awfully quiet on me all of a sudden. So, fáilte is ja, and thanks for listening, and hopefully that you're going to get something out of the next 2 hours. Contact us here in the station or send us a text up on the web and let us know who and where you're listening from. So we're going to start the music this morning then with Michael S. Tahar. Take it away, Michael S.
It was Boston City gave me birth so many years ago. My forebears came from Ireland, yes, in Mayo, the place they've already shipped to me. I often heard them say was lovely Saline Harbor at the side of Laxaw Bay. And now that I have come once more to dear old Erris shores, to view ancestral homesteads in the parish of Timor, to see myself the place they left upon that summer's day, and lovely Saline Harbor at the side of Laxaw Bay. I landed down in Binghamstown, where I met people grand. I told them what had brought me back to dear old Ireland. They showed me where my people lived before they went away, near lovely Saline Harbor at the side of Laxaw Bay. I stood enchanted by the scenes that soon did reach my eye. This lovely land my people left when they were forced to fly. The fields so green, the sky so blue, upon that summer's day, and lovely Saline Harbor at the side of Laxaw Bay. Now I'm going back to Boston town, but not there to abide. I'll take my wife and my family across the ocean wide. The evening of my life I'll spend when I return to stay near lovely Saline Harbor at the side of Laxaw Bay. My lovely Saline Harbor at the side of Laxaw Bay.
Michael S. Tahar there, the Bard of Binghamstown with Laxaw Bay. So well done to him. I seem to be getting a small bit of echo. But anyway, welcome back to Erris FM. As I said at the start, I have Joanna from Hamburg and Leah from Nuremberg, who were in Ireland for a year doing their TY in Our Lady Secondary School. As I said, Guten Morgen, you're welcome. Joanna, you're from Hamburg, which is North Germany, yes? And how are you getting on in Ireland?
I would say that I'm getting on really well. Like, I'm here since September, and I really noticed like how my English is improving, and like everything here, I really love it. Yeah.
Good. And you're living down in Cornboy.
Yeah.
So you're really getting rural Ireland,
Yeah.
the west of Ireland. And what about the weather?
Well, at the beginning, I was like, oh, I have to see when it's raining and when it's not raining, but now I kind of know when it's starting or how the weather is. Yeah.
And Leah, you're from Bavaria, way
I'm
down
from
in the
Bavaria.
south.
Yes.
What part?
The northern part near Nuremberg.
Near Nuremberg.
Yes.
Oh, very good. So you didn't know each other before you came to
No,
come
we
out?
didn't.
No. Very good. So you meet in St. Brendan's. You're from two opposite ends of Germany, one up north, one down south.
Yeah.
And Leah, do you like it here?
Yes, I really enjoy it. I've been here since January only, so only for 2.5 months, but I really like it.
Okay. And Joanna, you're here since September, yes?
Yeah.
So you're doing the full academic year, yeah? And both of you, Leah, did you have English before you came? You did?
Yes, I did since primary school, since the very first grade.
You all learn English in primary school?
Yes.
Yeah.
And any other language? French, no?
Yeah, I've been learning French for 4 years now.
Right, very good. That was somebody coming in from the clouds. So you learn French and English, and of course your own German in primary school.
I have Spanish actually. Like, I can choose between French, Spanish, and Latin.
Yeah. Oh, Latin, still
Yeah.
taught. Oh, yeah. God, I thought I was the last class to know Latin. I probably was here in Ireland.
No, I've
Tanto
been learning
Mirko.
Latin as well.
Oh, Latin, beautiful language, but it's not taught anymore.
Yes.
Very, very little numbers here in Ireland. It just goes to show listeners, to put us to shame, the rest of Europe. We seem to be the only country, and I think it's because of our 800 years of colonization by England, by the British. We seem to be the only country afraid of other languages. We're even afraid of our own native Irish, which is a shocking indictment on us. But on the continent, just the two German girls are after telling us, as well as that all the Scandinavians, they can talk 5 or 6 languages when they're 10 years of age. And yet we struggle with our own one and speak English kind of badly or wrongly, or more rightly, whichever bad grammar you want to put on it. And you were part of the musical, you were?
Yeah.
Yes.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
What else do you enjoy about school? Obviously learning all the different subjects, but PE, do you do physical education? Do you
Yeah,
do?
we do. Yeah, it's
So you're not lining out for Balmullet and Kilcommon in the ladies' football yet, no?
no.
No,
We've seen a Gaelic football match, but that's it.
that's it.
Yeah.
That is a bit strange for you now to
Yes.
watch.
Yeah.
It's even strange for us this year with all those new rules and that, but anyway.
Yeah.
But of course, you're a big soccer country, Germany.
Yes. I'm
Huge.
playing soccer as well. Yeah.
And playing soccer,
Mhm.
are you? Because the Bundesliga, we do get it on Sky Television here as well. So we'll talk to you a bit later on, but it's great to see two eloquent, educated girls coming, join both school here in Balmullet, but also Clooney and Cornboy and their host families. I think it's a great initiative to exchange people like that, to share cultures, language, and everything else. Now, I mentioned there our lack of Irish. We are in the middle of Seachtain na Gaeilge, and I was reading yesterday about the Gaeilge ambassadors for Seachtain na Gaeilge, Julie J. and Shane Daniel Byrne, who I'm told is a bit of a comedian, and the both are aiming to improve their Irish during Seachtain na Gaeilge, and they're encouraging other people across the country to use whatever piece of language they have, whatever little bit of Irish they have from school. It's in all our own DNA. It's only a matter of bringing it from the back of the brain to the front of the mouth.
Yeah, well, as Pubble have now introduced that you have to have conversational Irish now to be employed by.
Well, one of the great things about the conversational Irish when I was going to school, which is fado, that's a long, long time ago in Irish girls, you only got 10% for the oral Irish,
That's
and
right, yeah.
90% was for the grammar and the written and the essay, etc. And now it's nearly 50-50. So if you can go in and converse as Gaeilge, you've half the marks of your exam almost
Yeah,
got.
I remember mine, and I went in, they brought you in twos at the time, and I went in with George Wilson from Cross. and he did the conversation, and I just stood there, and I got me 10%.
Very good. Now, Shane Byrne has said he's eager to show Irish people how they can be involved in the Irish language, even if you don't have perfect Gaeilge. He's an ambassador, as I said, for Seachtain na Gaeilge this year, alongside fellow comedians Michael Fry and Julie J. Of the three, Byrne describes himself as a learner. Despite studying higher-level Irish in his Leaving Cert and doing well in the exam, Byrne says he frustratingly found he still had very little spoken Irish. In some ways, I wish I wasn't the learner. I wish I was the great Gaeilge speaker, but I'm not, he said. And that echoes thousands of people. He was obviously good enough at school, good enough to learn the grammar, good enough to learn what he was being taught, and good enough to do higher the honours paper and get good marks in it. But he still couldn't converse in it. So the way it's being taught was absolutely shocking. And in my time, it was even worse. They just belted the grammar into us.
That's what happened to me, like moving from Dublin. Like the Irish was so different in Dublin. But I still have some of that, as you said, like in the back of the brain, and it comes forward. But that made me lost in Irish the way it was taught when I moved down here.
You see, girl James here, our engineer, he's from Dublin, which they have both poor English and poor Irish. So they're doubly disadvantaged.
Lost in translation.
Lost in translation, is right. But just, if anything else comes out of this conversation, more parched than Seachtain na Gaeilge, be a goosage the Cudge Gaeilge, no matter how small your little piece of Irish is, it's just as easy to say Cehi Wilto, Goramila Mahagat, Dúnan Doris, than it is Tasha Fuhr, Nawilan Log Jas, which it is, the weather nice at the moment. It's just as easy to use a couple of phrases of Irish than we have. And it's amazing how many people will say, oh, Thaw, or no, Neil, back to you.
But that's what's happened with me now since I started working in Irish English Glora, because Irish is part of Irish English Glora.
All we do here.
So, but I can understand more than I did.
Yeah.
But maybe not conversing it. But I still have those few phrases, as you said.
And some people come to the Kirkle Coro here, which is just a cup of tea and coffee one day a week, and where they sit around, have a cup of tea, and talk as much Irish as they can, and help each other out. And it might be broken Irish for a few days, but after a while it starts to come.
And it's highly recommended to come along.
Highly recommended, is right. So if you're anything, just inquire at Erris English Glora down at the desk. Gwyneth's next on. Catherine and her team facilitate it every week, and a great job they're doing. So more part of the Seachtain na Gaeilge, be part of it, use as much Irish as you can. Have you picked up any phrases as Gaeilge?
No, not that many. Only maybe slán or something.
Slán,
yeah.
You see? It's as easy to say slán than goodbye, yeah? Very good. So when you go back to both Hamburg and Nuremberg, you'll have the people confused completely. You'll be telling them about Gaelic football and Tá agus Níl, agus Dúnan Doris, agus Slán go Fóil. And they'll say, where were those two for the year? When you go back to school, what age will you go into what's called the Leaving Cert year? Or year?
No, I have, or we have 2 years of school left after this.
2 years. And then hopefully university.
Yeah.
What would you like to do? What would you like to do, Lee?
I'm looking to do something in sports, maybe so sports journalism or something like that.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Are you a Bayern Munich fan, no?
Yes.
Of course, all of Bavaria, no matter Nuremberg don't count, it's only Bayern.
Yes.
And Joanna, what would you like to do?
I want to study architecture.
Good on you, architecture. Very good. Well, I've been to Hamburg, as I was telling you before the show, only just over a month ago and 6 weeks ago, and I was most impressed by it. It's Germany's biggest port, but it doesn't look like a port because it's inland, like you're at the mouth of the Ruhr River. But by engineering and the river, you get out to the North Sea with all of the huge ships. But well worth a visit. I thought Hamburg, nice part of Germany. So thanks, girls. And as I said at the start, they're just in to have a look at what a radio station is. They didn't know they were going to be on camera. So we'll make a copy of this so they can get it afterwards, of course, and stream it out to your parents and your folks and friends in Germany. And they're going to see you live in Balmullet on Erris FM. You're more than welcome. Now we're going to go back to the music, James, if that's all right. We had Michael S. We're going to take Michael S.'s daughter this time, Clodagh, and It's a Heartache.
It's a heartache, nothing but a heartache. it's too late. Hits you when you're down. It's a fool's game. Nothing but a fool's game. Standing in the cold rain, feeling like a clown. It's a heartache. Nothing but a heartache. Love them till your arms break. Then he lets you down. It ain't right with love to say when you find he doesn't care for you. It ain't wise to need someone as much as I depended on you. Oh, it's a heartache. Nothing but a heartache. Hits you and it's too late. Hits you when you're down. It's a fool's game. Nothing but a fool's game. Standing in the cold rain, feeling like a clown. It ain't right with love to share when you find he doesn't care for you. It ain't wise to need someone as much as I depended on you. Oh, it's a heartache. Nothing but a heartache. Hits you and it's too late. Hits you when you're down. It's a fool's game. Standing in the cold rain, feeling like a clown. It's a heartache.
Loaded there with It's a Heartache. And it all. What about last night in Washington? Micheál Martin was addressing the Irish Funds dinner. This was for $1,000 a plate, so $1,000 to get into this thing. And there were the Philadelphia Eagles guy was Dan Quinn was actually talking at the time. He's the coach at the Commanders football team in Philadelphia. And the Burks from Castlebar interrupted the proceedings. They hadn't paid $1,000, obviously, and they weren't invited, but they caused a bit of a furore. So the news this morning is that the family of Ina Burke were forcibly removed from a gala dinner attended by Taoiseach in Washington last night. 3 family members attempted to interrupt the Ireland Funds dinner and tried to accost Micheál Martin over the case of Enoch Burke. Speeches were underway when Martina, Amy and Isaac, so that's the mother, daughter and the other brother, managed to gain access to gain entrance to the private 1,000 plate fundraiser in Washington, D.C. As Gardaí alerted security and Washington police, the Burks attempted to interrupt proceedings and to protest over his imprisonment. Martina and Isaac Burke both ended up sprawled on the ground along with security. They were wrestled, shouting out of the building where they continued to shout their message. After some further criticism of the Taoiseach and the Irish media present, the Burks left the event. And Dan Quinn, the Washington Commanders football team coach, he didn't miss a beat, saying the scenes would have been familiar to anyone who's been to a Philadelphia Eagles game. So he washed it off with a bit of a laugh, but a scary enough moment, I suppose, there. But the Burks are
There'll be
in
more
America.
than one of them in prison before the year's out.
Probably because America won't tolerate any stuff like that. But look, they're carrying on their case, and of course it's easy to laugh, but it's a sad case really. But people are misunderstanding of why actually Ina Burke is in jail, or why he's not been let near the Wilson School up in Westmeath. It's not for what some of the far right are saying. It's just a violation of a court order and in breach of in contempt of court. And should he purge that contempt, he would be a free lad again. The tide is turning in some respects as well, when the news a few weeks ago came that he was still on full pay from the Department of Education.
Which they're trying to overturn now, aren't they?
They are, or they're trying to get the wages in to pay for the fines rather than being in prison. Now he's been fined every day.
Yeah, that's right.
That he doesn't comply with the court order. So there's, I don't know, the constitutional right though of people to take your wages straight like that without going through you. I just don't know. But it's going on and on and on. And of course, all of the fellas on social media are at it now. They have him with his Crombie coat and a satchel outside the gates of the White House, standing to attention. What they can do with photoshopping nowadays, it's just
their latest argument now are saying that the courts have been changing statements that have been made. Yeah. So it's hard to know what's going to go there.
Look, the right or wrongs of them, I just don't know. But it's going on for so long; it's unbelievable. Like, I mean, the people don't seem to those Burkes. They just believe in their religious convictions and in their rightfulness, or how right they are, and they don't seem to want to back down for anybody or anything. And like everything, there has to be compromise. We'll talk about Ukraine in a few minutes. There has to be some kind of a compromise to solve all those problems, but it's not happening any day soon for the Burkes, I'm afraid. So that's a bit of hurdy-gurdy last night anyway, at a $1,000 plate in Washington. It doesn't say what was on the menu now, but for $1,000.
Well, apparently the Burkes were on the
menu. We'd want to get better fed than Amy Burke shouting or roaring at you for $1,000. Now, as I said as well at the start, the Irish Independent, which seems to be getting more fixated every day with so-called Irish celebrities, people I don't even know. They're on kind of dance shows and Dancing on Ice and Dancing with the Stars. They just ape whatever ITV does, or rehash it 2 years later, and then make it a big blockbuster across our radio channels, the RTE channels every week, and of course live at the weekend. And this Lottie Ryan, who really, just because she was the daughter of Jerry Ryan, 2FM, used to be on 2FM butting into programs, giving us entertainment news every day of the week. I used to turn it off when I'd hear her. I'd hit the button in the car as quick as lightning. But Lottie and Bonnie Ryan, according to The Independent, have spoken about their sheer grief following the death of their father, Jerry. In a wide-ranging interview, the sisters discussed their podcast. That's why they're on, because they have a podcast.
Yep.
The label of Nepo babies, nepotism, well, obviously, God, they've seen it themselves, and being propositioned by sugar daddies. Oh my God. So that's all in Lifestyle on page 31. So if you have nothing else to do, and absolutely nothing else to do, you can read all of that on page 31. But the Independent today thinks this is a brilliant 2-page, 31 and 32 inside, 2 big colour pictures of the girls, and on the front cover of the full daily paper, on The World in Turmoil, they have the 2 of them as well in colour, and more than half of the front page.
The one thing I do remember of Jerry Ryan's is, especially his interviews with professionals, he always knew more than the professional.
Well, of course, I am being biased here because I never liked him. I didn't like him. I used to turn off 2FM when he'd start in the mornings. But yes, his life and his death was very, very controversial, and RTE seemed to dig him up every couple of months.
It does happen, yeah.
In a big homage to him. Now, more importantly, on the front of the Independent, Tusla. The headline is, Tusla boss caught up in child court order scandal. And a judge has said Tusla has been involved in an extraordinary and widespread failure to comply with hundreds of court orders related to vulnerable children. This is Judge Conor Fottrell, and he described as shocking and appalling behaviour by the Child and Family Agency. And senior officials, including current Chief Executive Kate Duggan, knew about the issue, the judge says, in 2022. No action was taken and no one took responsibility, the judge said. Now, this is a very, very serious case. It's a judge coming very, very, very strongly against the state agency, Tusla. Tusla were set up a few years ago to protect the child, and head of the agency, Director of Service and Integration, she became this Kate Duggan, and she's really in the firing line now from the judge's pointed remarks. And if they did fail to act on hundreds of court orders in child welfare cases, which the judge is accusing them of, then it's going to throw open again the whole debate at government level about TUSLA and its future. We don't hear the good work probably of TUSLA, but when there's mistakes made or children, vulnerable children, fall through the net, they're always in the news. And I don't know who handles their PR or who handles their media content, but they seem to be always getting the bad news. And this is very, very poor if the judge came out so strong against them. And he said it's extraordinary and widespread failing to comply with hundreds of court orders. Shortly before delivering his findings, Judge Cottrell said he was informed of a further 666 directions TUSLA had not complied with. And yesterday's court was just about 250 children. So all in all, you're talking about nearly 900 kids.
Their operational system just doesn't work.
Yeah, so, well, I don't know. They're denying that absolutely no action was taken, but he is saying that that is the way it is. So that debate is going to rumble on, but really the vulnerable children in this country, I don't know, can they have faith? They're only children and they're the victims.
That's just it, yeah. When you have a state body that's supposed to look after everything.
Absolutely. So I don't know, it's just every time you hear about TUSLA, it seems to be bad news. I know it's hard to have good news when you're dealing with vulnerable children and so on, and abuse cases and cases of where they're going to live and who's going to look after those children and so on and so forth. But every time you seem to turn it on about TUSLA, it's not a good story. TUSLA themselves are, as I said, a lot of politicians are already fed up at the mistake after mistake after mistake that seems to leak into the media every couple of weeks. So what else is in the news these days? Of course, Ukraine, and rolled up into it is Putin and Trump. And they seem to be getting on better and better every day, the two boys. And whether they're just going to bypass Zelensky and Ukraine or not, we don't know. We know what happened over 2 weeks ago now with Zelensky in the White House, when both Vance, the VP, and Donald doubled up on him and crucified him. And since then, it's gone. But at least last night we heard that Putin is saying that he needs more clarification from Washington, but that he's going to look at the peace proposals offered by Washington. So the Daniel McLaughlin in today's Irish Times is reporting from Kiev, and he says Russia said it has serious reservations about a White House proposal for a truce with Ukraine, as United States President Donald Trump urged the Kremlin to do the right thing and said talks had already taken place over what might be kept and lost in a potential peace deal. Now, this is dangerous talk from President Trump about what might be kept and lost. Russia invaded Ukraine, so I should think that America should be telling them to go back to the border as it was over 3 years ago. But he's already talking, this is even before the talks begin about a truce, that they should be talking about what might be kept and lost in a potential peace deal. So they had talks in Moscow last night with US envoy Steve Witkoff, and Putin said he supported the idea of a 30-day truce that Ukrainian officials backed in negotiations on Tuesday. So this is good. The US delegation met the Ukrainian people in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday, and they agreed to a 30-day ceasefire, a truce for 30 days at least, to try and talk something sense out of it. But of course, the worry in the Ukraine is that a peace deal will be reached where Russia are given some of the territory that they've occupied. And
when you take it, a war that was proposed would be over in 6 weeks.
And they already got to Crimea a few years ago, just walked into it, the world did nothing. And now are we going to allow them as well take whatever they've taken in the last 3 years and give them some of that territory? And then does it happen again in 2 or 3 years' time? Because definitely Russia, and particularly Putin, has his eye on the entire Ukraine territory. So we'll see. Down in Doonbeg in County Clare, of course, where Donald has his international golf links, Gardaí are investigating vandalism at his Doonbeg course. Now, you might have seen the pictures during the week as well of a resort he owns in England, and was all splashed with red paint and Gaza signs and so on.
Yeah.
Well, not as bad here, but I see pictures in today's Irish Times of the damage on the golf links, some protesters went onto it and dug up holes all across some of the fairways and the greens, which means it's going to be unplayable for a day or two. But the activist spray painted the clubhouse. This is the one in England now, and wrote, "Gaza is not for sale." But in Ireland here, they've damaged the lawn. So that one was in Scotland, not in England, during the week. So the protesters, pro-Gazan protesters mostly, Palestinian flags and so on, are targeting the Trump estates across the world, of which he has many. And of course, the one in County Clare is a flagship one for tourism in Clare. So they got in at night, I presume, and dug up the golf course. Not as bad, though, as the one in Scotland, where they really desecrated the place with paint and all their slogans.
From the first days he stepped into Scotland for that golf course, like, he had protests against him, not just about Gaza. Like, they just didn't want him there.
Yeah. So I see as well that Emma Little Pegali, I always give a little cheer when I say her name, because I think it's a very funny name. It's like a name that P.G. Woodhouse would have in his G's and Wooster books. She is, of course, the Deputy First Minister in Northern Ireland, and she's from the DUP. She shares power with Sinn Féin up in the north. But, of course, Sinn Féin, both north and south, did not and would not attend this year to go to Washington to meet the president and all of this Irish fandango that goes on there. High business stuff as well, of course, with so much American investment in Ireland. So it is an important charm offensive for the week. But Emma Little Pengelly went, and big colour pictures of her in the paper today, addressing, and everyone laughing at her remarks. And she flies solo to tell the North story. And she said that I think it's important for Northern Ireland's voice to be heard in America. So I think Sinn Féin might have missed a trick because Micheál Martin got on well. The Irish community are huge in America, and as I said, their investment in Ireland. Look at Mayo here, our 4 biggest employers are the Botox factory in Westport, Baxter in Castlebar, Hollister and Coca-Cola in Ballina, all American companies. So we rely quite a lot in the west of Ireland here on direct foreign investment from America. And I think the least we can do is go over once a year and meet them all and charm the socks off Donald and everyone else if we can. They even took, I see the Irish, in preparation, Micheál Martin and his team for the meeting with Trump the other day. In the morning, they took J.D. Vance, the vice president, to a breakfast and charmed the socks off him and invited himself and his wife to come as an official state visit. Now, it's not often the vice president is asked on an official state visit. So they got on his good side early in the morning and then wooed Trump in the afternoon. But Emma Pengelly, usually they wouldn't get a word in the DUP. And there they are now getting front page headlines and being listened to. And she's up on the rostrum speaking. And she's roaring and laughing herself. So just shows you things are changing in the world when the DUP are over talking about Northern Ireland in America and Sinn Féin at home. There was
and adding a bit of humour with it.
Well, yeah, and she's not necessarily known for her humour. No, little Emma Pengelly. That is her actual name, ladies. The 2 women here from Germany are looking at me with 2 heads wondering, would anybody ever be called Emma Little Pengelly? But that's what she is. We have what's called the DUP in the North, the Democratic Unionist Party. And they would have been fighting with Sinn Féin for the last 35, 40 years. And now they're sharing power in the North. So one went this year and the other didn't. And she's doing well out there. Now we'll talk about horse racing later on as well. Of course, the week that's in it. I know Michael S. does the sport, but I cannot let Cheltenham and Rachel Blackmore go without a comment or two. But people will be shocked today to read that Frankie Dettori, because again, people not even interested in racing would have heard of Frankie Dettori. Dettori is saddened and embarrassed as he files for bankruptcy over tax issues.
Oh, God. Another one.
Veteran jockey says consequences of decision will affect me for many years. And there's a picture of him in the papers today in 2021 when he visited Bellewstown races in County Meath, one of the smallest racecourses in Ireland. And he visited and rode for the day, and it swelled the crowd hugely. He is, of course, the legend Italian-born Frankie Dettori, and it's shocking news that he's filing for bankruptcy and said he is saddened and embarrassed by this outcome. Dettori, perhaps the world's most famous jockey, has had ongoing issues with Britain's taxman and revealed in a statement that he had been unsuccessful in his effort to resolve the financial difficulties he is in. The 54-year-old Italian said, "For the last 6 months, my advisors have been working with the tax people in an attempt to find a solution to my financial situation. Regrettably, I will be filing for bankruptcy. And this is not the outcome I would have hoped for. It is a major decision, and its consequences will affect me for many years. I'm relieved to be drawing a line on this long-term matter, which enables me to reset and focus on my international riding career." He shocked everybody by retiring, not so much that shocked us. It was time. He couldn't win anything anymore anyway. But next thing he started riding over in the States. And everybody said, "God, what's all this about?" But obviously it was because he was in financial difficulty, the taxman. He probably had to go to the States, and he probably had to go riding for a living again. Now, in his retirement year, they fitted him all across Britain, Royal Ascot, every race course he went to, huge banners, huge crowds, saying goodbye to Frankie. And now he's 54 years old, bankrupt. So where's all the money gone? Did he gamble it? I don't know. But it's a strange one that...
where is it hidden?
The massive money he was making. I mean, this fellow was winning derbies right up to 2 or 3 years ago.
Winning all the big races.
All the big races.
And he gets a percentage of and his fee.
Huge.
Yeah.
And he had a huge high profile outside of racing. This is how people will know him, not even racing fans. They will remember him as a captain on the TV quiz show, A Question of Sport, from 2002 to 2004. He appeared in Celebrity Big Brother in 2013. And I'm a Tom Tuberty, Get Me Out of Here in 2023. And although he was voted first out of that, so he probably joined that in 2023 trying to get a few bob as well. But he has opened several Italian restaurants with chef Marco Pierre White. And he rode his final race in Britain in October 2023 and enjoyed a fairy tale ending where he produced a storming ride to go from last to first on King of Steel in the Champion Stakes at Ascot. So it doesn't say in the article how much he actually earned in prize money, but any of the racing fans will know that. You can look it up on the racing apps. But it's unbelievable that Frankie Dettori has gone into bankruptcy. I just cannot believe that. So as James said, where is the money? And if he spent it, what the holy hell did he spend it on? And if he's under a mattress someplace, why didn't the taxman find him a bit earlier? So I don't know. It's just a funny one. But if anybody had told you that Frankie Dettori would be gone bust so early after just finishing his career, it's unbelievable stuff. Now, we're staying local with the music. Malachy Gohan from Tona Mace records from time to time, plays live in a lot of the pubs around Erris, and here he is with Ride On.
True, you ride the finest horse that I'd ever seen. No one standing 6 feet or 1 or 2, eyes wild and green. You ride the horse so well with your hand right through the touch. Oh, and I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. Singing right on, oh, see you. Oh, and I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. Right on, oh, see you. Oh, and I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. Oh, and trace behind. Oh, and rub your claw along my gut just one last time. I turn to face an empty space where we used to lie. Oh, look for the spark, can find the night like the teardrop in my eye. Singing right on. See you, oh, and I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. Right on, no, to see you, oh, and I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. Oh, black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are light, her rose so fair. She has the sweetest smile and the gentlest hands, and I love the ground whereon she stands. Singing right on. See you, oh, and I can never go with you no matter how I wanted to. And right on, see you, and I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. No matter how I wanted to. No matter how
Malachi gone there. Well done, Malachi. And right on. No doubt he'll be playing across Erris for the bank holiday weekend. Very good entertainer live, and that's his take recording. Nice recording there of Right On. Now we'll finish on Mr. Martin Goes to Washington with some of the letters to the editors in today's papers, because there's various opinions on what we should have done, should we have gone at all to America, etc., etc. But just both from the North, two letters to the editors today. And I often say on this show that the letters to the editors are a good microcosm of what's happening across the country. People are angst enough to write into the papers. So from Seamus Hannity in Carrickmacross, he writes, "While I disagree with many of Micheál Martin's policies, he must be commended on how he handled the White House visit. Engaging in petulant kindergarten-style politics was never going to work. Had he, as some commentators seem to suggest, gone into the meeting with spurs clinking, ready for an OK Corral-style showdown, the Taoiseach would have been sent back across the Atlantic quicker than a cannonball from one of the howitzers at the front of the White House. One must act based on the facts at hand, not on delusional notions of influence over foreign conflicts, notions that would amount to nothing more than national self-sabotage." That's from Seamus Hannity. And on the other side of it, also from Ulster, from Paul Connolly in Main Street in Cavan, in a different paper, he writes today, "Is one of the elephants in the room that gives Ireland an easy ride in the Oval Office our role as a major international tax haven. We funnel hundreds of billions of untaxed dollars through the country, further enriching the ultra-wealthy, who in turn pump millions into presidential campaigns. What future candidate or incumbent would want to rock that boat? Yours, etc., Paul Connolly." So two different takes on it there. One saying that we did well not to go in shouting and roaring, and the other saying, well, we shouldn't go in shouting or roaring because we're funneling American money through all of the thing. Now, Paul Connolly omits to say, as I said already, the four biggest employers in Mayo, for instance, are all American firms. So they do provide an awful lot of jobs across the country, and particularly here in the West. I mentioned the four in Mayo, but if you take Boston Scientific and Medic and all those medical companies in Galway, they're all American owned, and they're absolutely massive. And then, of course, where have Google their European headquarters, and where have X their European headquarters, but here in Dublin as well. So the American jobs are important. So I think that's why Micheál Martin played it safe and kept on the good side of the head man in Washington. So that's about all we can say on that for the moment. Now, Pat McDonough, I mentioned, is often in the news for, of course, his taking on of McDonald's over the name Supermax and so on. He's a self-made millionaire himself and his wife, as you know, from South Galway. He was a national school teacher, and he left it after a couple of years teaching to found his first Supermax takeaway chip shop. And since then, they've grown to a huge multi-million business across Ireland and now as well into England. But he famously fought bogus insurance claims a few years ago, and was widely praised by everybody for doing so. But he's in the news again he says, Pat McDonough has criticised members of the legal profession who are backing proposals to increase personal injury awards by nearly 17%. McDonough, who's been a long-time campaigner for insurance reform, believes a rise in award levels will derail the Injuries Resolution Board to get more cases back into court and push insurance premiums up. So he's been a long time being a bugbear of this. And he said that if under the draft amended guidelines, awards for minor whiplash injuries, where a substantial recovery is made within 1 or 2 years, will rise from between 7,000 at the moment and 14,000, up from between 6 to 12. So the maximum award for the most devastating and catastrophic injuries, such as quadriplegia, would be set at 642,000, up from 550. I don't think anybody can argue that 550 to 642 for somebody with wheelchair for life or brain damage for life. But he's right about the smaller claims. They're the most common ones in the courts. And it's a big, big bugbear of him that people are pushing up the claims for small injuries, putting a collar on themselves for a little while, and no great damage done, and getting what used to be between 6 and 12, and now they're putting that up to between 7 and 14. And he's blaming the legal profession for doing it, and of course they're on a fee for all of those cases, so why wouldn't they feather their own nest, I suppose. Now, a very first on Erris FM, we're going to have the next piece of music introduced in Deutsch, in German, right, by Leah, all the way from Nuremberg. So Leah, take it away.
The next song is by Quinn Neary, and the song is called Heaven.
Now do that as German for me.
Okay, das nächste Lied heißt Quinn Neary und der Name des Liedes ist Heaven.
This is Heaven. Okay, very good.
Thinking about our young years, it was only you and me. We were young and wild and free. Now nothing can take you away from me. We've been down that road before. That's over now. Keep me coming back for more. Baby, you're all that I want. When you're lying here in my arms, finding it hard to believe we're in heaven. And loving is all that I need, and I find it there in your heart. Isn't too hard to see we're in heaven. Yeah, once in your life you're gonna find someone and turn your life around. They pick you up when you're feeling down. Nothing can change what you mean to me. Oh, and there's much that I can say, but just hold me now. And our love will light the way. Baby, you're all that I want. When you're lying here in my arms, finding it hard to believe we're in heaven. Loving is all that I need, and I find it there in your heart. It isn't too hard to see we're in heaven. And I've been waiting for so long for something to arrive, for love to come along. Now our dreams are coming true, the good times and the bad. I'll be standing there with you, and baby, you're all that I want when you're lying here in my arms, finding it hard to believe we're in heaven. Loving is all that I need, and I find it there in your heart. It isn't too hard to see we're in heaven. It isn't too hard to see we're in heaven.
Quinn Neary there. Quinn is out in Dubai living at the moment and playing in Fibber McGee's at the weekend, working at his trade, I think, as an electrician during the week, and singing in the Irish pubs in Dubai. And as I said, can be heard in Fibber McGee's and Sheikh Rahid Road behind the Crown Plaza Hotel in Dubai. Man from Balmullet singing every weekend. Now, the lady in the news, of course, across the world yesterday was our own Rachel Blackmore, and star of the show at Cheltenham after scoring a marvellous double on Air of Entitlement, and then Bob Ollinger, great old horse, in the Stayers hurdle. In doing so, not alone is it remarkable to have a double on a day at Cheltenham, but she joins another milestone. She has now got the clean sweep of Festival Championship prizes. She has won all 5 of the main races at the 4-day Cheltenham Festival. Now, some jockeys are going all their life and never have a winner at Cheltenham. Some win a Gold Cup, or they win a Champion Hurdle, or they win a Champion Chase, but they never do all of 5. She's already bagged before yesterday the Champion Hurdle in 2021 and 22, the Champion Chase in 24, the Ryanair Chase in 21 and 23, and of course, unbelievably, the Gold Cup in 2022. And yesterday she completed the full set when Bob Ollinger won the Stayers Hurdle. It's a remarkable, absolutely remarkable achievement for Rachel Blackmore herself, but for Irish racing as well. And it's all the more so as a woman. It's one of the few sports where they compete on level terms with the men. There's no handicaps, there's no special races just for the women. You do the weight just like the men jockeys do. The horse is weighted according to his thing. Those are championship races, so everyone goes off at 12 stone. So between the jockey and the saddle, the horse must carry 12 stone. So she competes on the exact same field against men, and she comes out on top time after time after time. And the way she got up in the first race yesterday, the energy and the,
oh my God, fabulous race.
The long haul to the line was absolutely tremendous. And then to win the biggest race of yesterday, the Stayers Hurdle, with Bob Ollinger, brought the house down. She's remarkable, and she has a cousin who's been buried this week, so she dedicated the 2 wins to her cousin who died during the week. But the whole of the world was talking about her last night. AP McCoy and all the greats of the racing said they never saw anything like her. It's a staggering list of achievements. And she's now won 18 festival winners at Cheltenham. She's level with Richard Dunwoody. And to leave only legends Ruby Walsh, AP McCoy, Barry Gertie, Paul Townsend, Pat Taff and Davy Russell ahead of her. So it's an amazing feat by her, and she's not finished yet. She could have 1 or 2 today as well. The final day, of course, of Cheltenham today. But Rachel Blackmore, she's not just a poster girl for Irish sport. I think, without shadow of a doubt, and I know I love the horse racing, so I may be biased, but she's Ireland's greatest female sports person, and I would have her up there in the top 3 Irish sports people of all time, I would.
Oh, definitely.
Now, on the Irish front itself today, Gallopin de Champ, the Gold Cup, of course, the feature race of the 4 days is today, the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Only 2 horses have ever won it 3 times in a row in the modern era. That was the great Arkle back in the mid-60s, and Best Mate a few years ago, an English horse. But Gallopin' de Champ for Willie Mullins takes his place in it today, going for 3 in a row. He's won it the last 2 years, and should he do it, he will join the pantheon of the Gold Cup greats. He's not going to be any price to back him at, because he'll be odds on. He's only got 8 opponents this time, and he's head and shoulders on the form book above the rest of them. But of course, he must complete the whole Gold Cup 3 mile, 2 furlongs and 70 yards, and he must jump about 19 fences, and that could be his biggest danger if he beats himself. I don't think any other of the horses will beat him if he stays up. If he's as good as he has been all season and in the last 2 years, I think he's practically unbeatable. But it would be great not to have a bet on it. As I said, he's about 4 to 7, but just sit back and watch history unfold, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime horse, and it would be great to see the owners themselves and Willie Mullins and indeed Paul Townend putting themselves into history.
See him being bet.
No, it's very, very hard to see him being bet, and at that price, as I said, it isn't a betting race. A small field, unusually for a Gold Cup.
Unlike when we got the big tip years ago for Cool Ground.
That's right. Yeah, well, there won't be any tips around the rest of them today. He's rated, I don't want to get too much into the numbo-jumbo of the racing, but he's rated 177, I think it is. And the nearest to him is, he's actually rated he's gone over 181 now since his last win. And the next to him is about 175 in official ratings. So on the form book and on everything else, he's up there. And I see Patrick Mullins is writing in today's Independent, I think it is. And he said history beckons for Gallopin' de Champ in his Gold Cup treble bid. And he doesn't think that anything is going to come in his way. He gives Dim Bluey as well today. He gives Ethical Diamond each way in the 2 o'clock. In the 2:40, Dim Bluey, and 4 o'clock, Gallopin' de Champ. So if you're into the horses, girls, horse racing is a huge sport in Ireland. It employs an awful lot of people, but also we would gamble on 2 flags going up the wall, maybe. But you have horse racing in parts of Germany.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because they're covered there on the old, if you would, go to a betting shop during the day. Where is it, Jim?
Dortmund, Munich.
Yeah, Dortmund, and there is one in Munich as well, the racetrack, yeah. So we'd have watched them there on the dirt. So that's all it is. Again, Michael Varney writing as well in one of the papers, galloping his way into history books as hat-trick of Gold Cup now beckons. Now the danger is that he hits a fence and hurts himself or loses his balance or falls, woe betide us, and then it's easy enough beat them if they don't stay up. We're going to see how it goes on. But anyway, Cheltenham finishes today, and the Gold Cup itself is on, I think, at 4 o'clock. It is 4 o'clock. And one not to be missed to see, can he make history? Now, we had the first German introduction to a song from Leah the last time. Now, Johanna has got a more difficult name to pronounce, but take it away, Johanna, our next piece of music.
The next song is called The Harmonica Man by Michael John Ruddy.
And in Deutsch?
Das nächste Lied heißt The Harmonica Man von Michael John Ruddy.
That was easy enough. Harmonica Man was still Harmonica Man. Right, Michael John, you'll be proud to hear that the Germans are introducing you on Erris FM. Here's Michael John Ruddy with Harmonica Man.
Across this great city, all the lights they shine bright, but beneath this great picture I stand as different sight. As I stand here on Broadway and beg all alone, my thoughts drift on back to the place I call home. When I left my homeland back in '69 to make my fortune and return back in time. But the years they have passed now, and my old friends have gone, no home to return to. As my life hits the fall, my body is drooped now, my hair's turned grey. Time it has taken my young looks away. People pass by, some know me as John, the old man who begs and sings a song. Oh, I play the big stages, yes, I know them well. My piano did jingle as my band played encore. The crystal ball glittered with dancers all around. Oh Lord, what a feeling with this great music sound. If you see the lonely, the downtrodden, the poor, there were some others, darling, there were some others, child. The years can bring changes, yes, those bright lights can dim. Take John, for example, the harmonica man.
That was Michael Johnnery with the Harmonica Man, beautifully introduced by Johanna from Hamburg. Now, the two girls are going to leave us, and they're going to get a stream of this program afterwards and be to show to their family back in Germany, whenever. And part of your TY, when you're writing up what you did for your TY year, you can always tell them you went in the night after your musical and you prattled on with another fellow prattling on for about an hour on live radio. So well done. So I'm going to ask you to say goodbye to us in German.
Mm-hmm. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf
Or you
Wiedersehen.
can say tschüss.
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 Yeah.
Tschüss and auf Wiedersehen. And enjoy the rest of your year. The weather is going to get better. And enjoy the rest of your time in Our Ladies and both at your host families in Cornboy and Clooney. It was our pleasure to have you here at Erris FM this morning. And good luck for the rest of the year and indeed the rest of your careers back in Germany. And I hope you become a good architect and a good sports psychologist or sports scientist or in sport of some sort.
Yeah.
So auf Wiedersehen, and thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Isn't that lovely?
Bye.
Two lovely teenagers hosting here, and what a chance it is for them to sample new people and new part of the world. I think it's great for everybody, good for the host families as well. So well done to both Johanna and Leah for their company here this morning. Now, what's happening around the country? The government around our own little county of Mayo, good news for Erris and Ishlora here in Balmullet. A long list was published of community centre enhancement grants during the week. And Erris and Ishlora is now almost 20 years in existence. And it's beginning to fall apart. The boiler obviously is gone in the boiler house. So we're on little electric heaters here at big cost trying to heat ourselves. And we made an application. When I say we, I was still working here before I retired before the Christmas. Made a major application for a new boiler and new air conditioning and a new light system in the theatre, and to transfer all the rest of the lights to LED because the electricity bill here is absolutely massive. And we're delighted during the week to be on the long list of community enhancement grants that was announced by the government. Both Alan Dillon, the Minister, and Dara Killeary, the Senior Minister, announced them. And Erris Innishlora was on the list for 82,000. Practically everything we asked for has been granted, which is great. So it means that now we have the people who are ran by the voluntary board here under the chairmanship of Father Kevin Haggerty have now capital to actually go and get the works done, which is brilliant. The general public out there often think that Erris Innishlora is part of the council, Oshie and the council up there. We're not. Erris Innishlora is a not-for-profit, community-based company. And while we share the building here with Mayo County Council, with the court service, with Udras na Gaeltachta, and with the library, all of those partners are statutory bodies, but we are not. And the 600 square metres of art space, that's the theatre, the generous foyer area, the dressing rooms, the exhibition room upstairs, the gallery, the studios where we're broadcasting from now, are all owned by a community-based, not-for-profit company, Erris Innishlora Churnta. So we have to wash our own face, file our own accounts, and try to raise our own money every year. And thankfully, we've done that successfully. But we hit a bit of a wall where after 20 years, there's capital works needed, and this scheme was open. So we applied, and thankfully, during the week, we were granted 82,000, which, if nothing else, will put heat back in the building, James. So good news all around.
Woohoo!
And well done to all of the people across the West, groups like Erris Innishlora, community halls, sports halls, etc., that really could do with re-insulation and so on, and those were on the list as well. So if you made a proper application this time, it appears that the government have enough money to nearly satisfy everyone that applied, which is great. It took them about 6, 7, 8 months, I think, since we applied. It was, I think, last spring.
Be about that, yes.
But at least the outcome has been good. So well done to them. I see Mayo County Council have got a new councillor this week as well. Senator Mark Duffy, of course, was the councillor in Ballina in his second term. He left the independent group to join Fine Gael to run in the general election there in November. He almost got the seat, but just fell a bit short. But he was subsequently then elected to Shannon Airden. So that made a vacancy on the Mayo County Council. And as all county council vacancies, there's never a by-election in a council. They co-opt somebody on until the next election. So the sister of recently elected Senator Mark Duffy has been co-opted to Mayo County Council. She's Mary Theresa Duffy, a primary school teacher from Ballina, and she replaces her brother. She was proposed by Fine Gael councillor Jarlath Munley, who said it was important to address the council's gender balance. Mary Theresa is a person of great calibre, and it is so important to have people like that representing Ballina, he said. This is also an opportunity to increase the proportion of women from 13% to 17%, which unbelievably is a new record level, which is something we need to continue to address. And the proposal was seconded by Fianna Fáil councillor Michael Loftus. He said, I'm delighted to second the proposal. She is somebody committed to her local community, and that is so important, he said. With no further nominations and full agreement from sitting councillors, Ms Duffy was ratified as a councillor. So we wish her well. She's a new county councillor. Her brother is now in the Senate, Mark Duffy, and Mary Therese takes her, I don't know if she married Theresa or Mary Therese Duffy. Theresa, I would say. And she's the newest county councillor in Mayo. And by just increasing it by one woman, it increases the percentage of the 30 councillors from 13 to 17. And as Jarlath Munley remarked, it's still very, very low, but it is unbelievably the highest percentage they've ever had. People talk about gender balance in politics, but I think it's up to the general public themselves to vote for who they think is the best person, not so much so whether the sex of that person. But that's my own take on it. And I don't believe in setting quotas, gender quotas, like they have for nominations and so on, forcing party members to pick a person of a certain gender just because of their gender, because they have to have by law now, or they don't get the funding. All the big parties must try to get up to 40% of their candidates women. So almost 40% were offered as women candidates in the general election, and nothing near 40% gets elected. But that's the choice of the general people, and then people giving out afterwards about the low representation for women. It is totally 100% up to the people themselves, and trying to tell us who we can or not vote for, I think, is an affront to democracy in a different kind of way. Now, the N17, we cross it going to Galway all of the time. We usually get on it there at Swinford and mosey up along if you're going down to Galway and through Knock and the bypass at Claremorris and so on and so forth. But I see that we know about the amount of accidents that have been on it, and it's not a dual carriageway, but it's the main artery between Sligo and Galway. And as I said, it crosses a wide part of Mayo. So Mayo County Council have announced they're closing 7 junctions on the lethal stretch of N17. And those are between Claremorris and Knock, are to be closed for safety reasons. An 8th road, known in Claremorris locally as the Bog Road, is to remain open to motorists because of the number of school routes and local traffic it serves. But the Chief Engineer, Conal Hanley, told the councillors at last week's meeting that there had been 100 accidents on that particular stretch of road since 2019, including a number of fatal collisions. My God, 100 accidents on it. He said the N17 at Charlestown is statistically one of the safest roads, while the N17 outside of Claremorris has one of the biggest accident rates in the country. And the difference is the number of junctions, which is 3 times higher in Claremorris than in Charlestown, with one 15k stretch having 30 junctions. And this was the case. Of course, we had a fatal accident pertaining to Erris a few years ago before, coming off one of those junction roads onto the N17 and a fierce fatal crash. But I know local people may be put out by closing the small little roads to get them out and get them into town quicker or whatever. But I think in the interest of safety, after 100 accidents since 2019 and a number of fatal, it doesn't say how many fatalities, but there's been a good few. So I know that some of the councillors, Councillor Patsy O'Brien, for instance, he said he fears it will have a detrimental impact on the traffic in town. And he also asked to keep the Bog Road open. But they all said, Councillor Al McGallagher, the new Fine Gael TD, took the opposite view. She said, councillors sometimes have to take very unpopular decisions which can be inconvenient for people. And she's right in that it is inconvenient for people. But I think if they look at the facts of it, if you have 100 accidents, with all of those junctions coming out onto a main thoroughfare, you just have to close them off at some stage, bypass them. In England, they would dig under the road and just have a little tunnel through for the cars.
Yeah, that is right.
If there are those small roads, but here we go for the jugular and just close them off. So it wouldn't impact on us driving up on the N17, because when we get on it, we don't notice those until some car tries to come out in front of us. So we'll see how it goes, but that's in the Western People this week, closing off 7 roads because of the dangers on the N17. Now we're going to go back to the music, and the Germans have left us, and a good job, is I can't pronounce the name of this song myself. It's from the late Colm Henry, and it's, give us a hand.
It's entitled Mertia.
Mertia, Mertela.
Yeah, it's a song that when he went over to Nashville many moons ago, he'd met this woman and she had written the song, and she gave it a call. It's very much a Marty Robbins style number, but lovely. A beautiful tune.
Lovely. We'll take it away, the late great Colm Henry.
Last night I was back home with Mama, talking of our long ago. She brought out the old picture album, and there lay a dried yellow rose. When I asked about you, Martia, the rose fell apart in my hand. Mama said somewhere between the rose and the rosary, she walked away from her honky-tonk man. Via con Dios, Martia, your love is my shining star. No man save God stands between us, though you're never out of my heart. I love you though I live in sadness. Do you read my name in the sand? Amore Soledad, my heart to you. Say a prayer for your honky-tonk man. I don't know when tears started falling, but they woke me up from the dream. I went to the phone and called Mama as dawn showed the distance between. When I asked about you, Martia, holding tight to a small golden band, Mama said somewhere between the rose and the rosary, she followed God, not her honky-tonk man. Vaya con Dios, Martia, your love is my shining star. No man save God stands between us, though you're never out of my heart. I love you though I live in sadness. Do you read my name in the sand? Amore Soledad, my heart to you. Say a prayer for your honky-tonk man. Amore Soledad, my heart to you. Say a prayer for your honky-tonk man.
Yeah, definitely in the style of a Marty Robbins there, Martila, from Colin Henry. Well done there. Now then, I see that Michael S., who we played at the very start of the show, and Pauline Gertie received their 10-year service medals for the Ballyglass Coast Guard. So well done to them. From Section Manager Roisin McBride came down to make the presentation. The medals recognise 10 years of dedication and commitment in serving the community. So well done to Michael S. and to Pauline Gertie, 10 years with the Ballyglass Coast Guard. And also the Ballyglass RNLI, the Lifeboat Committee, had their annual general meeting, and they welcomed a lot of new members to the committee for the year and gave service medals to people as well. So two great organisations based at Ballyglass. The RNLI, of course, saving lives at sea, and 10 years of the Ballyglass Coast Guard. They're going for many, many, many years. But Michael S. and Pauline getting their 10-year service medals, all as volunteers and all doing great work here in Erris. Michael Cosgrove, the chairperson of the Ballyglass RNLI, wished everyone well before closing the meeting. This is the AGM of them, and he thanked everybody for their help throughout the year. So two great organisations, as I said, working away on behalf of the people, which is just mighty. You're listening to Erris FM. I'm Ian McAndrew. I was helped this morning, of course, by Johanna and Leah from Nuremberg and from Hamburg in Germany, who are spending their year out in the convent in Our Ladies, and they seem to be enjoying it 100%. And lovely girls they are, and very, very well adjusted, and loves Cornboy and loves Clooney where they're living. Now, the big soccer derby was on last weekend back in the Stadio Drum, the Classico Erris, and Kilmore came out on top this time. And I see that I wasn't at it, but I see that the headlines in this week's Western was Heated Barney Derby goes the way of Kilmore. And they moved into second place in the league after the 2-1 win over local rivals Erris Aintree. So Erris United and Kilmore clashed in Drum. They're in the same division now in the Mayo League, and they means that Kilmore have gone above them in the table and second just in the Castle Court Hotel Premier League. So well done to them. It appears that it was kind of in Kilmore Sports Ground. Stuart Tynan writes, the terrible start for Fahey Rovers continued after 2-1 defeat. No, this isn't it. Where did I see it a minute ago now? Yes, in the Erris Derby, Kilmore triumphed 2-1 over Erris Aintree in Drum. Gulherm D'Souza and Mark Gilbert put Kilmore in front, with Killian Riley pulling one back. The High Cosgrove missed a penalty for Erris, and they were reduced to 10 men after Pete MacArthur was shown a second yellow card midway in the second half. So kind of fireworks in Drum for the Classico de Erris. And they're going to meet a few times this season because both are in the same division for the first time ever. So it's keeping soccer alive. And on the GF front, best of luck to Balmullet tomorrow as they take on Crossmolina. And this is significant at 4 o'clock down in Tala tomorrow because it's in the Sweeney Cup, which is the precursor to the full season. It's the cup in North Mayo, kind of warm-up cup. But it's important for Crossmolina in that it's their first day back at senior. Former All-Ireland, senior All-Ireland champions, never mind the county. They went all the way down to intermediate. It's been a good few years down there. But they not alone won the county last year to come back up senior, but they went on to win, of course, the intermediate All-Ireland just a few short months ago. And who will ever forget the penalty take by young Loftus, Conor Loftus, in the last minute, the last kick of the game practically, to win the All-Ireland for Crossmolina after the week of terrible personal loss he had himself. So it's their first game back at senior football. They're down against Balmullet. It's on at 4 o'clock tomorrow down in the pitch in Tala. Nice crowd is expected, even though it's very, very early in the season. But we welcome Crossmolina tomorrow to it. And it's the first match as well, significantly, for Balmullet with the new management team of Kieran Lavelle, Damien Lavelle, PJ Kane, and one or two others yet to be named, I think. So well done to them for taking over and taking up for Balmullet and try to coach them and manage them as best can for the year. So good luck to everybody as we hit away on it. Property prices continue to rise across Ireland, but when you see a house on the Golf Course Road in Cairn, beautiful resident up for sale at 350,000. So one time a house in Erris would be significantly lower than one in Westport or Castlebar or Ballina, but not anymore. And the demand for houses around Erris and indeed around the town of Balmullet is absolutely huge.
People seem to be able to call whatever price they want now.
Yeah, and they seem to be able to get it because the demand, it's the houses just aren't generous now. I know there's a huge effort going in to build more houses, and we see that around Balmullet town in particular, and indeed Erris. But a lot of the one-off houses are because of the pyrite issue.
Yeah,
they're houses that had to come down and being rebuilt. So how many actually new standalone houses that are being built, I don't know. I know there is a great emphasis in Balmullet. We see it with the new council apartments now just given out up in Church Road to people. 4 new apartments up beside the Gorda station just finished, and a lot of new houses on Shore Road just coming to completion, and the new terrace going down the dock. So, you know, we need supply of houses. But if they're going to be scarce, then they're going to be extra dear and extra money on people. It just shows you that houses now are being asked 350,000, 360,000 in the Erris area.
It's like going back to the Celtic Tiger, yeah.
Yes, well, that's the worry that it's going to overheat the whole economy again, so hopefully not. Now then, we're going to go back to the music, and this is young Chloe Winters from Bangor, Erris. And it's this is really an American take. It's Heads Carolina, Tails California. So take your pick.
Baby, what do you say we just get lost? Leave this one-horse town like 2 rebels without a cause. I've got people in Boston, ain't your daddy still in Des Moines? We can pack up tomorrow, tonight let's flip a coin. Heads Carolina, tails California, somewhere green, somewhere warmer up in the down by the ocean where it don't matter as long as we're going somewhere together. I've got a quarter, Heads Carolina, tails California.
Heads Carolina, Tails California.
Originally a Jody Messina song.
Very good. That was.
And she does a great rendition, that has to be said of it.
Very good. Well done to young Chloe. And we see as well in today's paper that it's a Dublin story, but same thing happened here in Balmullet with the oldest building in town, the Church of Ireland, up on Curlew Hill, which was deconsecrated as a church a few years ago and given back to the community. But a bit of revival took place there last October as the new rector in Crossmina came in for a Thanksgiving service, which was very, very well attended. But I see in Dublin, and people in South Dublin will know this well, people from home living up around this area, the imposing Christ Church in Leeson's Park in Dublin 6 has been deconsecrated by Church of Ireland Archbishop of Dublin Michael Jackson and is to be put on the property market. Originally the Molyneux Asylum for the Female Blind, which moved from Dublin's Peter Street to Leeson's Park in 1862. The Molyneux Chapel was rebuilt and renamed Christ Church Leeson Park in 1874. The area then had a large Church of Ireland population. Among worshippers at Christ Church Leeson Park in these days was writer George Bernard Shaw, who lived at nearby Hatch Street. He also attended Sunday school there, and he said, "To sit motionless and speechless in your best suit in a dark, stuffy church, hating the clergyman as a sanctimonious bore and dreading the sexton." So he didn't think much of it. But the church received the dedication of Christ Church Leeson Park in 1873, and in 1892 it became a separate Church of Ireland parish. Its rector during the 1916 Rising, Dr. Percy Player, who recorded later how he and one of the three curates there went daily to Ballsbridge for bread, which they brought back for the residents of the Molyneux Blind Home. So he was awakened one morning early when the bodies of two parishioners were brought to the rectory on a lorry. Through the later decades of the 20th century, the number of worshippers dropped off rapidly and it faced closure. In 1972, that's 100 years after its consecration, it was united with the nearby St. Bartholomew's Church on Clyde Road. Numbers continued to fall, and Christ Church Leeson Park was closed as a Church of Ireland parish in 2007. But it continued to be used by the Romanian Orthodox Church for some time. Soon it proved too large for their purpose as well. Last year it decided to sell the property. So there is a little bit of history in South Dublin. The Leeson Park was the Molyneux Asylum for the Female Blind, starting off, and became consecrated as a church way back in 1862. Closed as the Church of Ireland in 2007, continued on by the Romanian Orthodox Church, but now is closing fully and will be sold. I presume the site is worth a fortune, and I'd say the building is probably a listed building. So some millionaire will do something with the church, but it's just interesting to see the population Church of Ireland dwindled altogether here in Erris. The church used to be open when I was a kid, one Sunday a month, when the rector in Crossmina would come in, and it had dwindled down to two parishioners, and Mrs. Giant and Tilda Farrell, God rest both of them. And then it was closed for a few years, fell into disrepair, and the Little Heritage Committee said it's the oldest building, black salt granite, on the highest point in town, and it should be revived in some sort and not let fall down. So the little committee, of which I was glad to be a member, we got all the windows repaired. We got a grant from Mayo County Council to redo the roof. And we've done as much as we can to keep it airtight and away from the wind and rain. Beautiful building, but it's very hard to know what actually to do with it because it doesn't have toilets or running water to get all of those into the graveyard, which surrounds it quite close, or the graves to it. A lot of the history, of course, of Balmullet is up around that church.
That's right.
The church itself. But it went the way of Leeson Park, and Leeson Park, a huge church one time in Dublin. Now nobody, and I just wonder how long is it going to take, probably not in my lifetime but in the next generation, to see a lot of the Catholic churches closing, because we already see a lack of priests and parishes being rolled into one another, and now dioceses, including our own one here in Killala, is now part of the Greater Tuam Diocese, so there is no Bishop of Killala on his own anymore. So give it another 50, 60 years, I think we'll be reading, just like the Church of Ireland's, we'll be reading about Catholic churches being given up as well.
It quite possibly could happen.
Because I think unless there's a revolution again of religious fervour, which I don't see coming any day soon. It's heading down the way of nobody going anymore. So I wonder where is organised religion as we know it in Ireland. I know out in the third world and that it's still fiercely popular. So if they bring in priests from Africa and priests from the Philippines and so on, it may revive it a bit here. But if they keep going with older priests and not replacing them and not allowing them to marry or not allowing them to do anything else but just serve.
Allow women into the church.
And women priests, I agree wholeheartedly. And on religion as well, Gerard Howland has a big opinion piece on page 10 today in the Times. He said, Ireland remains a cold house for Jewish people. He said, to be Jewish in Ireland is to be burdened with assumptions and a captive audience for chilling rhetoric. And he said, there is no space left here for either a broader perspective or nuance. And that is, of course, because this country seems to be, well, the loud voice in this country is pro-Palestinian. And then they seem to mark that as being anti-Jewish. I think it should be anti-Zionist, not just the whole Jewish people. But it's anti-Semitism is on the rise across Europe, Gerard Howland says, and Ireland should do something about it. The amount of Jewish people registered in Ireland still as Jewish is very, very low as well. There were in Limerick, they're practically gone. There was Jewish people in Cork, practically gone. And now in Dublin, very, very few. I think the number in the hundreds anymore, which is a shame because they brought their skills and everything else to Ireland, and a lot of them fled long before the Nazis. Some of them came fleeing Russia and Lithuania and those places from pogroms way back in the 1800s and the very early 1900s, and certainly after World War I. And coincidentally, on local history, nobody seems to know. People of a certain age will remember the Barber's Hall here in town. Many's the person dancing in it. Many the husband met the wife.
A Jewish man that owned it.
A Jewish man. He was James. His surname was James. And we don't know where he's buried. He came on his own. I think,
heard that question asked only recently,
yeah. By oral history, I just remember I haven't anything to back this up, but he came around the time of World War I, and he fled Eastern Europe, where there was pogrom against the Jews. Why Balmullet or how he came out this far, I do not know. He had no partner, and Mary Geraghty came in as his housekeeper and cutting hair with him, and she became a hairdresser herself, and she ended up getting the place. But he was an entrepreneurial kind of man. He put up a shed. It wasn't much more than a shed at the back of the shop. It's now the Bulling Bloster.
Well, Mick Tuffy carried on the dance hall there
he
at the time.
Afterwards. And Manny's the person met their partner there in the Barber's Hall right in the middle of town. And he was a Jewish man of the Jewish faith, James, and nobody seems to know where exactly he's buried. And we were trying to find out, as you said, James. A few locals were talking one night and they said it should be found out. Did the Jewish community come for him, or is he buried in some Catholic graveyard, whatever? So we just don't know, and we'll find out if we can. And if we do find out,
it was really unheard of being buried in a Catholic graveyard, though.
Well, it would be. They usually come for their own, but there are Jewish cemeteries. I'm not sure. I know Veronica Riley was researching where's there a Jewish graveyard in Mayo. I presume Galway would be the nearest.
I'd say so.
Or Limerick, but I don't know. Had he any relations as well in Ireland? Anyway, on a different matter, I see that just for all students out there, Vermilion, who run the Corrib Gas here now, the company that owns it, they're Canadian. The internship program has been announced for 2025. So they're offering student intern ships from June to August based in Balmullet and the Ballinaboy Bridge Gas Terminal. The internship program offers paid work experience for 8 to 12 weeks during the summer to students studying the following disciplines. So engineering students, mechanical, electrical or instrumental, finance, business services, quantity surveying or business studies, health, safety and environment. So if there's people from Erris, students, and there's a lot of them doing engineering, doing finance, doing business services, or doing health, safety and environment, and it's a great scheme because it gives them work experience for the summer and gives them wages for the summer. So for between 8 to 12 weeks. So you apply and send in your CV.
It's a fabulous initiative.
It's a great initiative every year. And a lot of people go on and it helps them get worked in when they do qualify. And it gives them, as I said, great experience, but also money for the summer months to students.
But I think the most important is having that work experience itself.
So I'm sure the third level students have all seen the ad this week, but I'd encourage them to apply for it, because what else are you going to do for the summer? Work at what you're studying and get good at it and get paid for it as well.
And don't forget, you, of course, you're listening to us on 90.8, but also online. You can get us on errisfmradio.com, and you'll find a link there to listen to us live online. And hopefully in the near future we will be connected to Alexa, so all you'd have to say is play Erris FM.
Very good. Now then, we're going to go back to the music. We had Chloe Winter's last one, and our next one is a unique duet in that it's Chantal Padden. Congrats to her on her twins, her twin boys. Chantal came back from Australia to have her twins. It's unique in that she's singing with her grandfather, Tony Cawley from Fallmore. Now, Tony and herself are beautiful duet together. I remember seeing them when Chantal was very, very young. Tony bringing her up on stage in Chat John Joe's on a New Year's Day after the swim back there one time. And I was amazed at the young girl's voice. But she's grown up into the woman she is, and she cut a record with her grandfather, Tony. And it's a picture of me without you, and a more suitable song for two grand people you couldn't meet.
Imagine a world where no music was playing, and think of a church where nobody praying. If you've ever looked up at the sky with no blue, then you've seen a picture of me without you.
Have you walked in a garden where nothing was growing? Stood by a river where nothing was flowing? If you've seen a red rose unkissed by the dew, then you've seen a picture of me without you.
Can you picture heaven with no angels singing, or a quiet Sunday morning with no church bells ringing? If you watched as the heart of a child breaks in two, then you've seen a picture of me without you. Can you picture heaven with no angels singing, or a quiet Sunday morning with no church bells ringing? If you watched as the heart of a child breaks in two, then you've seen a picture of me without you. Ooh.
Then you've seen a picture of me without you.
Lovely. A picture of me without you from Tony Cawley and his granddaughter, Chantal Padden. And wouldn't it be lovely if the two boys, her twin little baby infants now, they grow up and they will always have that of their great grandfather singing with their mum. Tony and Chantal there. A picture of me without you. Now, David McWilliams, the economist and writer in the Irish Times and TV personality and so on, has been writing about the derelict buildings all across Ireland. And Harry Barrett from Balmullet here originally, but the councillor in Castlebar, put forward a series of proposals to Mayo County Council on derelict buildings. As you know, there's a housing crisis. We already spoke about the price of houses, but the demand for houses is huge and they're not available. And yet in every town and village in Ireland, there is an awful lot of houses derelict, just lying up, boarded up, weeds growing out through the chimneys and so on. And according to the 2022 census, there was 8,922 vacant homes. That's not including the holiday homes now. And while most are not legally derelict and others haven't been served dereliction notices, but that is a staggering number of houses lying idle in this county. That's 8,922. That's nearly 9,000 houses. Now we know here in Balmullet and indeed in Bangor, the amount of houses that are boarded up particularly along main streets in towns now, and the streets leading on to Main Street. The amount of people living now in the middle of Balmullet town has dwindled to just a handful.
You take where the Erris Tavern was. Like, that's a great site now for an apartment block because it goes a nice bit back too.
Yeah, but not even that, just the tourist of houses coming down Barrack Street on one side.
That's true.
Very little people, whole families are rare in them. When I grew up on the Main Street, you could have 2 football teams in Main Street.
Yeah.
Now I think 4 people sleep in Main Street overnight. So like we were all raised behind and above the shops and pubs and so on in it. Same down Barrack Street, American Street, vacant houses. But there's nearly 9,000 of them, and Harry Barrett has put a good few suggestions, some of which he took from David McWilliams, and he credited McWilliams for those, but they should give maybe a capital gains tax amnesty to people to get them done up. Now, they have tried with the £70,000 grant of derelict homes or homes that are disused. I'd love to know what is the take-up of that already in the county, but they should really, the town regenerations. You go up along Ballinrobe, and Charlie Bird really showed it up bad time when he was down reporting on the Nally case. And as we drive up the hill there's only one butcher shop open on that street. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
And the amount of houses are boarded up. I mean,
unreal.
Thousands of people on the housing list in Mayo, and half of streets just closed up.
Yeah, if you look at Old Castle and Meath, my God, that town, it's just collapsed.
Yeah, it's happening all over Ireland, and unfortunately, I'm glad to see that the debate has started up and that Harry Barrett has brought some of his own ideas and David McWilliams is to it. But something should be done because it just cannot go on as it is, and I don't think it's on. Now, the newly shaped Erris FM continues today and tomorrow. I still think it's Saturday because I'm usually here on a Saturday. Right. I was shocked this morning to come down and see all the cars outside and I said, what's on? Because usually you come in on a Saturday morning
nice and quite deserted.
So after me today, it's Huey Carey from 12 to 1. From 1 to 2, Michael S. is live in studio, and he's going to have all the sport first. From 2 to 3, we have the Jukebox, and from 3 to 4, the IWA, the Irish Wheelchair Association show. We welcome them into the studio. Back to the Jukebox from 4 to 5. And Hui Guji Yeshe, Stefan as Mullercrow, Sheer Aaron Lehet, and Stephen will be in with his own take on Cracker's Kjol in Nielge Owan, August Falchuk Stefan. So that's the new lineup for Fridays. I hope to be back with you again next Friday, Lekuno J. Thanks to James and to Johanna and Leah from Germany for helping me out this morning. They came in just for a bit of work experience. I didn't think they were going to have to talk on microphone, but you've heard a bit of Irish, you've heard a lot of English, some of it bad English, and you've heard a bit of German here this morning on Erris FM, which is a first for all of us. It was good to be back, and I hope to do as many Fridays as I can. Stay tuned, it's your radio station out there, and it brings people from Erris connections in touch with each other across the world, and that's what we're here for. I'm going to leave you a small few minutes early. James will fill you in with music afterwards because I have a funeral to attend to, but we're going out with Red Connolly with his song he wrote himself for the 200th anniversary of Balmullet Town, simply called Balmullet Town from Red Connolly.
In 1824, the town of Balmullet opened its doors. William H. Carter owned the land and he thought the town here should be planned. He hired a man called Patrick Knight who drew up the plans for the site. The Castlebar Road helped it to thrive and soon the strangers began to arrive. To the square, the dock, the canal and the quay, between two bays surrounded by sea. The land was low on Carter's site, but oh what a town was planned by night. Many a visitor travelled the miles, the Royal Hotel kept them in style. J.M. Singh, G.B. Shaw and Lloyd George all gazed in awe. Jack B. Yeats and Maud Gonne, John McCormack sang us a song. De Valera, sure he came too, and Percy French admired the view. Of the square, the dock, the canal and the quay, between two bays surrounded by sea. The land was low on Carter's site, but oh what a town was planned by night. The SS Tartar steamed its way from Pickle Point to Sligo Bay, transporting cargo and people each way, some who would never return to stay. Many have left for a faraway shore, oh Bogo Joe, not easiest though, but the capital town of Erris their home, no matter where they did wander or roam. From the square, the dock, the canal and the quay, between two bays surrounded by sea. The land was low on Carter's site, but oh what a town was planned by night. Daughters and sons have all met their match. Great Willie Joe rose high in Croke Park. Sinead Endeavour ran like the wind, and Annie Mariah comes round the bend. They say it's the people that make a place, an act of kindness, a smiling face. We're blessed to know we have all that. Now round the corner comes Donald the Cat. To the square, the dock, the canal and the quay, between two bays surrounded by sea. The land was low on Carter's site, but oh what a town was planned by night. Bail on winner the Baia Pio, Baia Gasnacre Gumaweo, Baia Cushcladdy Le Seal Dance Throw, Baia a Man or Grihidle Joe. The town of Balmullet continues to grow, our tidy town in County Mayo, a town by the shore where the pace is slow, a town we cherish forevermore. And the square, the dock, the canal and the quay, between two bays surrounded by sea. The land was low on Carter's site, but oh what a town was planned by night. The town of the barony for all sides, who come to trade by road or tide. The side below, the side behind, the side above, you'll all there find. We now celebrate 200 years, a town that's known laughter and tears. The people so friendly, set it apart. Here's to Balmullet, the pride of our heart. The square, the dock, the canal and the quay, between two bays surrounded by sea. The land was low on Carter's site, oh what a town was planned by night. The square, the dock, the canal and the quay, between two bays surrounded by sea. The land was low on Carter's site, but oh what a town was planned by night.
Yes, a song by Red Connolly there, an original, of course, written to celebrate the bicentennial of Balmullet. And so, why not take a listen here now to a little bit of Tradlib, one of our great rock, Celtic rock groups. Here's Lark in the Morning.